Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, ladies. Happy Mother's Day. Whew, I almost didn't think I was going to be able to make it. But I'm here. But I'm here. Dang, let me double check something. Oh, I don't know what to think about everything that's going on right now. They trying too hard, baby, to win this election, abort them Epstein files. They starting wars and viruses, pandemics. The CDC have no idea about this pandemic. How is that? How in the world is that? Hey, Miss Tom. I hope you had an awesome and an amazing Mother's Day. Just that on your way in, please hit the like button. On your way in, don't pass go. Don't. Hey, Lawrence. Question: do you think they're going to win this election? I pray to God that they don't. They are going through a lot. It is going to be up to us. This is why Lawrence, I'm so disappointed that people put out the propaganda that our vote don't count. Because again, I'm going to keep preaching it. There is no way our vote don't count if they're going through all of these measures for us to not be able to vote. But what I hope, Lawrence, is that he has done such a piss poor job. Intentional sabotage on top of the Epstein files. The disregard, the disrespect, the Israel first. It's just a multitude of things. I hope he has done a piss poor job. That his own likeness say, no, enough. Everybody help. Absolutely. This is why I also preach, and preach again about detox. Consistently detox and build your immune system. So all of the stuff, the elderberry, the moringa, the sea moss, olive oregano, the aged garlic, get into it. And it may sound like a lot. I'm not liking, me either. It may sound like a lot, and it may be a lot. But they say that this mess is supposed to be 10 times worse. And it's been pre-planned. Even before the first COVID. Where's that tablet? Gates. That's why I said last night, how is he not detained? How is he not? He's intentionally doing it. Because they're majority red. And it's in their favor to some degree with the tax cuts. But he haven't even been honest with them. That's why I'm saying I hope. And then some of them folk, Lawrence, are in the Epstein files. If they're not in the Epstein files, they for sure in the Sasha Riley files. And I still believe to some degree he may have been in Minnesota, Minneapolis, because they went hard. They went harder there excuse me. Then Chicago, when they went to Chicago to clean up, where else did they go? They went somewhere else. Memphis. They weren't kicking in doors and all that type of stuff in those city and states. But Sasha Riley is a guy. It's a male. Was a boy when Donald allegedly, in my opinion, based on Sasha Riley's sworn statement, him and he can name Trump, he can name Jim Johnson, he can name Andy Diggs, he can name Uncle Tom, he can name several people, lawmakers. So it's just ugly, and it keeps getting uglier. You know, it's a lot of things that are going on that's in the Epstein files. It's like he talked about the aliens. He know them aliens and crossbreeding and all of that type of stuff is in them Epstein files. 9/11, you know, all of that was staged by the CIA, allegedly. And that's what Epstein was tied up in. So I hope, Lawrence, I answered your question for you, but I absolutely believe that he has done enough harm. Now, come what, December? I was talking to my brother who retired from the military the first of the year, last year when Trump went into office. And he he said that our young men from the ages 18 through 24 is about to be in for a rude awakening. And just to think about what about the kids, the young kids who never shot a gun, never had a fight, you know, just thinking about the innocence of some kids. It just blows my mind. And when I was talking to him, I said, but then why don't they just start with the people in the military? I mean, in jail. Why not use them? The jails and prisons is overcrowded. Career criminals should go first. And then I said, oh, but I forgot that's big business too. That's money-making business. Well, why would you not career criminals go first? Why haven't that been implemented? Hey, Andre, what y'all think? Should they not start with career criminals, not first-time offenders, you know? But they don't care. He letting out criminals. You see what I'm saying? He pardoning criminals. He pardoning PDFers. He don't want them. Now I think that the digital ID also was about identifying the ooish, you know, because they cannot afflict anything on them in this cult. Did y'all know that? They are exempt for everything. All those crimes that are in the Epstein files, they were not supposed to be against ooze. That can't be nothing but the devil, y'all. But I'm going to move on so we can get to these topics because I'm already late. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers in the bushes. Can y'all get y'all to hit the like button for Auntie Fee? I ate well today. I got a video. They tried to try me. The first spot I went to, they tried to put old Auntie Fee in the back. They tried to put on TV. It was full of the beige, the peaches. But they decided it was gonna be a good idea to put me in the back. Said the devil is a lie. As soon as she made it way back there, I said, I want this seat right here. I want this one. Y'all gonna see on the video, then I started getting a little era. Mothers don't want their sons and daughters to go respect the mothers. Yeah. But he don't have no respect for women. I heard he was rude and disrespectful today. Mrs. Tom said, hit the please button, please, and thank you. Thumbs up. Yeah, they tried to put on TV in the back. And you know, there's slightly oozy one in me. And then I got up and left. I dropped the mic on her. How you feeling, Mrs. Tom? How you feeling? Are you feeling better? Y'all, please detox y'all bodies. Please detox. Do yourself a favor and challenge yourself to eat out of the wild caught for a month. Challenge yourself. No meat, no pork, no beef, no chicken, no turkey, just wild caught. And see what your body do for you. The food is tainted. Awesome. Notice headache gone. Awesome. You know, I was listening. I'm going to get to it, y'all. Hit the like button. I'm waiting on y'all to get the likes up. Double tap the face of your screen. Or hit those three dots at the top. I was listening to something the other day, Miss Tom, where a doctor, you know, they all be saying that they were former doctors or, you know. But he talked about no, this guy was, he was peach. He was peachy. And he said that those headaches is parasites urinating, and it's the headache is to make you stop doing what you're doing as far as detoxing or, you know, fasting. I think he was more talking about fasting. And the reason why we get those little whining headaches, those little headaches, is because the parasites are urinating to trigger the headache so that you would eat. Yeah. And I was like, oh man. Oh man. Just to think about it. Just so much we do not know. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just so much that we either knew and forgot or just didn't know at all. So you got to be mindful. And when I think about it, I'll be like, oh man, and then you need Celtic salt or Himalaya salt or kosher salt. Because you need magnesium. But when I heard that guy talk about what the parasites are doing as you are trying to starve them out, they are sending those little headaches. It's just too much going on. It was my appendix. They were in my gut. Yep. Just about every ailment starts in the gut. because that's where the worms are. We got to be mindful of that. We just got to go back and do research on deworming, because it used to be a thing back in the day. I remember my sister that is real slender. She was very slender back in the day. And I remember that, you know, my other siblings would say, oh, because I think one of her nicknames was Worm. Now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm talking about it, my slender sister, you know, yeah, her nickname, my brothers named her Worm. I don't think it carried. And I remember, you know, because she could eat. She could really eat. And I remember, oh, Lord, just thinking about it. Maybe back then, they wouldn't putting, you know, humans in our meat. But I remember my dad would take us to Whataburger. And she would eat them Whoppers. Like, you know, at that time I was doing Whopper Juniors, but she would eat them. And my daddy would say, girl, you can eat. You must got one of them tapeworms. I remember this now that it has resurfaced. Now that it has resurfaced, yeah, they thought she had a tapeworm. But anyway, just, yeah, I'm remembering now. And I don't know when Burger King, how long they've been around, but I do remember my sister used to love that Whopper. And it was just as sloppy and messy all over the place. But just to think about, now they're saying, that I'm going to show y'all something. This girl had me laughing. When I sent it to my people today, I had to say, I am so sorry. I had to say I'm sorry because I was laughing. I was laughing, and it was serious, right? But I was laughing because of the way this girl said this mess. I'm finna show y'all. Give me a minute. Get the lights up, y'all. Come on. I'm finna play it for y'all. I had to say, I am so sorry. My niece responded. She was like, this is a shame. Yeah. Because her nephew love McDonald's. And I want them to find him something else to eat. Get him off of McDonald's. Get him off. Like ASAP. They said even, hold on, let me show y'all this.
In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video. Watch clearly. This man tries to feed the bear with a McDonald's burger, but surprisingly, the bear refuses to eat it.
The bear wouldn't eat it.
At first, many people thought maybe the animal was not hungry, but what happened next confused everyone even more. The man kept trying again and again. He moved closer, played with the burger, and even... In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video. Watch clearly. This man tries to feed the bear with a McDonald's burger, but surprisingly, the bear refuses to eat it. At first, many people thought maybe the animal was not hungry, but what happened next confused everyone even more. The man kept trying again and again. He moved closer, played with the burger, and even tried different tricks to convince the bear to take a bite.
I don't know why it's so high.
But still, the bear refused. No matter what strategy he used, nothing worked. The animal kept rejecting the burger completely.
Playing with the man.
This video has caused massive reactions online because people are asking one serious question. In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video. Watch clearly. This man tries to feed the bear with a McDonald's burger, but surprisingly, the bear refuses to eat it. At first, many people thought maybe the animal was not hungry, but what happened next confused everyone even more. The man kept trying again and again.
Pulled it apart.
Closer, played with the burger, and even tried different tricks to convince the bear to take a bite. But still, the bear refused. No matter what strategy he used, nothing worked. The animal kept rejecting the burger completely. And now, this video has caused... In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video. Watch clearly. This man tries to feed the bear with a McDonald's burger, but surprisingly, the bear refuses to eat it. At first, many people thought maybe the animal was not hungry, but what happened next confused everyone even more. The man kept trying again and again.
Pulled it
he moved
apart.
closer, played with the burger, and even tried different tricks to convince the bear to take a bite. But still, the bear refused. No matter what strategy he used, nothing worked. The animal kept rejecting the burger completely. And now, this video has caused massive reactions online because people are asking one serious question. If even a wild animal refuses to eat it, then what does the bear sense that humans do not? Many people believe animals naturally detect danger faster than humans. Others say the bear simply knew something was not right. Whatever the reason is, this video has left the internet completely divided. In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video. Watch clearly. This man tries to feed the bear with a McDonald's burger, but surprisingly, the bear refuses to eat it. At first, many people thought maybe the animal was not hungry, but what happened next confused everyone even more. The man kept trying again and again. He moved closer, played with the burger, and even tried different tricks to convince the bear to take a bite. But still, the bear refused. No matter what strategy he used, nothing worked. The animal kept rejecting the burger completely. And now,
so it's almost as if he had been feeding this animal before.
In fact, everyone is speechless
because
after watching
how
this
was
video.
he not afraid of the bear? So, he must have fed this animal. It seemed like they have some affection for one another, right? But he wouldn't eat it. He wouldn't eat it.
In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video. Watch clearly. This man tries to feed the bear with a McDonald's burger, but surprisingly, the bear refuses to eat it. At first, many people thought maybe the animal was not hungry, but what happened next confused everyone even more. The man kept trying again and again.
He pushed the thing out the way.
With the burger and even tried different tricks to convince the bear to take a bite.
Go on with that.
But still, the bear refused.
Man,
no matter what strategy he used, nothing worked.
What you doing?
The animal kept rejecting the burger completely. And now, this video has caused massive reactions online because people are asking one serious question. If even a wild animal refuses to eat it, then what does the bear sense that humans do not? Many people believe animals naturally detect danger faster than humans. Others say the bear simply knew something was not right. Whatever the reason is, this video has left the internet completely divided. In fact, everyone is speechless after watching this video.
I got another one because this thing.
Clearly.
Yeah, that's your friend. Bill Gates is your partner. That ain't even the one. Why did I send this to myself? Hold on. Here's the one that had me laughing. Hold on.
We been telling y'all bitch ass to quit eating that damn McDonald's because it got peoples in it. Where the fuck y'all been? This way before the Epstein files. All them damn documentaries on YouTube, y'all called us crazy talking about ain't no damn peoples in them damn burgers. There's peoples in there. And we tried to told y'all. You just don't fucking listen.
Hey,
y'all
Christy.
think everything's a damn game until the other people
Yeah, I gotta use the retro, but I know she said it to them other peoples. Who is peoples? We been telling y'all they got peoples.
We been telling y'all bitch ass to quit eating that damn McDonald's because it got peoples in it. Where the fuck y'all been? This way before the Epstein files. All them damn documentaries on YouTube, y'all called us crazy talking about ain't no damn peoples in them damn burgers. There's peoples in there. And we tried to told y'all. You just don't fucking listen. Y'all think everything's a damn game until the other people tell you that shit real. I might tell a joke, but I ain't gonna tell no motherfucking lie. Why you think that shit tastes different from your burger at the crib? Because it's peoples in there. And you get sick and have all kind of health problems because you ain't supposed to be eating peoples. Y'all consuming people, flesh. Them folks gone away from here and they in your burger. And in a lot of these fast food restaurants, that ain't no damn meat. Motherfuckers, the goddamn farms running out of food, motherfuckers losing their farm and shit, and you think that's meat you eating. Nah, bitch, that's people.
Excuse
Bitch,
excuse the language that she's using. You know, bypass the language that she. This is why it was funny to me, y'all, because we don't believe nothing. As much as I be saying, don't eat it, don't do it, detox, detox, detox. What? I don't even eat turkey. When I first did my challenge on myself, I was off of meat for a little over a month. No, a little over a month and a half. And when I came off of it and started eating, I went to turkey. I mean, I had turkey and dressing and some greens. I went to a soul food restaurant. But I said, I don't want no pork. I don't want no, I'm going to do some turkey. That heartburn, that inflammation, the swelling in my face, and I came right back. And that's when it clicked. Oh, yeah, no. It's something to this meat. It's something to it. That's why I asked you to challenge yourself for 30 days. Go 30 days. Without meat. Only wild caught. And it needs to be wild caught. And see what your body do for you. Yeah, I try not to do processed too, but it's beyond process. Process is bad. Absolutely. But the meat is intentionally damaged, inflamed. The animal should have been laid to rest, or it's just not enough animals. It's just not enough animals to feed the multitude. But it's hard for us to stop doing what we've been doing all our life. I get it. But I challenge you, no meat, wild caught for 30 days and see what your body do for you. But hey, I can't make nobody do nothing. But they telling you in your face what they doing. I don't know what human grade is. Human grade to me is them grinding up humans in the ground meat. Suited for a budget. You know what? I mean, that's just another way. But I just know it's just hard for us to let go of habit. And they know this. They created the habits. I don't know what y'all think. They created those habits on purpose.
They lied to you about Hantav, and I got proof that the people in office knew about this long before it hit the news. And guess who they didn't warn first? Us. Always us. This virus don't randomly attack people, damn it. It hunts weak immune systems. And our community's been set up for this for decades. Flooding our neighborhoods with the cheapest, most processed, most toxic food on the planet. And now a virus targeting weak immunity is spread. Nah, bro, that ain't a coincidence. Every dollar menu, every corner store, every cheap processed meal, slowly destroying the one thing standing between you and the virus, your immune system. So here's what you gonna do right now. 3 ingredients, free: warm water, fresh ginger, half a lemon. Every morning, before your phone, before your coffee, heat your water. Warm, not boiling. Day 3, your gut starts healing. Day 5, your immune system wakes up. Day 7, your body starts fighting back like it was designed to. Focused, strong, protected, rebuilding your immune system right now is the most revolutionary thing you can do, because a person who thinks clearly and lives healthy can't be controlled. Take care of your body, bro. Drop a yes in the comments if this woke you up. They lied to you about hantavirus, and I got proof that the people in office knew about this long before it hit the news. And guess who they didn't warn first? Us. Always us. This virus don't randomly attack people, damn it. It hunts weak immune systems. And our community's been set up for this for decades. Flooding our neighborhoods with the cheapest, most processed, most toxic food on the planet. And now a virus targeting weak immunity is spread. Now,
And you know,
that ain't a
I'm not going to even say they haven't told us. They did tell us. We don't listen. I'm not going to say they didn't tell us. Because I'm finding several clips dated years ago. They've talked about it on talk shows. We don't listen. We hard-headed. So now we don't, they finna cut medical and make it so expensive to ain't nobody gonna have any insurance. And hopefully your immune system is strong enough. Maybe somebody have listened. I don't care what field you in. I don't care what they have taught you in medical schools. They lied. They lied. And I'm going to leave it at that. Because I can't make nobody get prepared for this. I can't. I just can't do it. People are hard-headed. Or they think that people are crazy. And they are banking on that. Hold on. That's what they're banking on. That's absolutely what they're banking on. I don't even trust that GP1 stuff. I'm gonna tell you that now. I don't trust nothing that's a big trend that's medical. So now, you know, if anything is in that GP, people are losing weight. I will give them that. But then, yeah, are we gonna find out later that it's linked to something else? You know, like the Ozempic and Majava. I was late even finding out the people was using. I ain't know nothing about it. When I first heard how people was losing weight, I ain't know nothing about that stuff. Now they saying Ozempic leads to bone density or something with your bones. It's eating at your bones. Yeah, I'm scared of all this stuff. I look at it and I'm thinking, all of a sudden, you don't need a doctor. You can answer a few questions, so ain't nobody liable. You can't sue nobody. Yeah, because you did that on your own. Yeah, no, not right now. Oh, yeah, it is a blessing to have a choice. All I'm going to say is rest in peace. I wish they would have listened. Lord, please, wake us up before it's too late, because they trying to take us out. Let's go.
For another pandemic with this new hantavirus, which they say they are preparing the people for another pandemic with this new hantavirus, which they say has a 40% death rate. And Moderna started the vaccine production process in 2024 like they knew something. There's nobody on this cruise. They're lying, and it looks like they're going to start another international chaos. SARS in 2003, swine flu in 2009, Ebola in 2014, COVID in 2020. The World Cup is coming, and a lot of people are going to be around the US, Canada, and Mexico. This thing can spread like wildfire, and it would mean another pandemic with the purpose of fear-mongering. They are preparing the people for another
another pandemic, this time with all the the layoffs, the cuts in medical aid and assistance, food. Now they're finna go after the people with the PPP fraud. All of the setups. This was supposed to go down his second term that he didn't get. And because now he not popular, we got to get out and vote early.
Pandemic with this new hantavirus, which they say has a 40% death rate, and Moderna started the vaccine production process in 2024 like they knew something. There's nobody on this
cruise. Coming.
They're lying, and it looks like they're going to start another international chaos. SARS in 2003, swine flu in 2009, Ebola in 2014, COVID in 2020. The World Cup is coming, and a lot of people are going to be around the US, Canada, and Mexico. This thing can spread like wildfire, and it would mean another pandemic with the purpose of fear-mongering. They are preparing the people for another pandemic with...
Let me see where one I had that talked about. Bill Gates was talking on The View. Let me see where this is at. Oh, here you go.
And it won't be the last pandemic. The next one could be far more severe. I mean, this one, it killed millions. It was awful. We got the vaccine. Actually, President Trump's leadership was a factor in getting that out quickly. And it won't be the last pandemic. The next one could be far more severe. I mean, this one, it killed millions. It was awful. We got the vaccine. Actually, President Trump's leadership was a factor in getting that out quickly. And so when I spoke to him, I said, okay, here's some other medical innovations, including the thing called an HIV cure that could be accelerated. So,
oh yeah, thank goodness.
Be more prepared, both for a pandemic.
But baby, now, if I need to get some quick tap water, I got my baking soda right there and my Himalaya salt, my septic salt, and sea salt. I'm just trying to be as careful as I was before. Now, before I wasn't doing baking soda or septic salt or kosher salt, anything like that. But this time I am. And I'm on the olive oregano and the aged garlic. And I can really tell a difference with my walking with that bad leg. Oh, yours do a water softener. Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, let me finish this up.
Say that's still number one. You can worry about nuclear war. You can worry about AI. There's plenty to worry about. Overall, I'm an optimist. Okay. No, I mean, it's up to the government to think ahead on behalf of the citizens.
Yes.
So
the meat is better.
There's a lot that we should be doing.
When I don't eat something I'm supposed to eat.
Hopefully we'll get our act together before the next one comes. Overall, the innovation in health, both in the developing countries, the rich world, I love being part of that.
I was reading, though, that you said the next pandemic you are predicting within maybe 25 years. Is that
certainly
accurate?
we'll have one in the next 25 years. There's even some pathogens out there that we're watching over right now.
Now,
I don't know how.
I don't know when that was originally.
Come there, he get on fuck.
What?
Do you know what the most expensive fruit in the world is?
Okay, let me get back over here. What in the world? JBS.
This is the stuff that goes on in big packing plants. Bed of guts covering the whole floor.
Who
Not
got
just hundreds or maybe thousands of pig heads. Oh, Jesus, man. More guts on the floor. Overflowing bins. What happens to all this? Shout out to David Olmos. He worked at this JBS facility in Louisville, Kentucky. Post stuff like this to expose them.
Oh, wow.
When you buy bacon or sausage or some other...
Hey, alright, y'all, look, y'all seen that video, right? And y'all still got the nerve to come to places and buy stuff like this. Listen, any meat in a cylinder like this, sausage, even the bacon, processed meat in general, is carcinogenic, meaning it's cancerous. Stop eating it. You're destroying your body, and you wonder why you got problems with your feet, problems with your blood pressure, problems with your kidneys, or you're eating poison. Stop eating garbage like that. Change your diet, get in the gym, and just stay away from the bad food. Stop eating bullshit. Yes.
And this is the stuff that goes on in big packing plants.
Let me move on, y'all. It's just, ugh. What time is it? It's 11. Let us go to the prayer for today. I love the jazz. I love the prayer. I hope y'all like it. Yeah, this is just, it's just way too much at one time to me. And it's just so on purpose. You know, and I know that this is the devil's work. And they got this man on talk shows and, you know, meetings with him, and he's just telling you what he's doing. You know, we just overcrowded, you know, the world's just overcrowded. So, you know, I got to come up with a way to get these up out of here.
Enhance your membership with the American Express Platinum Card and access over $3,500 in annual value. Appreciated, valued, and deeply.
Y'all ready for the prayer?
I dedicate this prayer to all the mothers.
Y'all get the likes up. Y'all ready for the prayer? Father, I strength. Y'all ready? Come on, brother.
I dedicate this prayer to all the mothers. Dear God, today I lift up every mother, every biological mother, every adoptive mother, stepmother, foster mother, grandmother, spiritual mother, aunt, and every woman who has loved, nurtured, prayed for, and sacrificed for others with a mother's heart. God, thank you for mothers. Thank you for the countless sacrifices that nobody sees.
Clean the crack of your ass.
Sleepless nights, the quiet prayers, the tears, the worry, the strength, the wisdom, the unconditional love that they pour out day after day. God, your word says in Proverbs 31:28, her children arise and call her blessed. Today we honor and we bless the mothers who have given so much of themselves for the people that they love. Lord, I pray that every mother listening today feels appreciated, valued, and deeply loved. Remind her that even when she feels unnoticed, you see every sacrifice. You see every meal prepared, every tear wiped away, every burden carried, every prayer whispered late at night. Nothing she has done in love has been wasted. Isaiah 40:11 says, he tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. God, gently lead every mother today. Strengthen the ones who are tired. Encourage the ones who feel overwhelmed. Heal the ones carrying silent pain. Restore joy to those who have poured out so much of themselves that they feel empty. God, I pray peace over every mother's mind today. In a world full of pressure and stress, let her rest in you. Let her rest in your presence, knowing she does not have to carry every burden alone. Matthew 11:28 says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Give mothers rest today, God. Rest from anxiety, rest from worry, rest from feeling like they have to be perfect, rest from fear about the future. And remind them, God, that your grace is sufficient and that you are with them in every season of motherhood. I pray blessings over their home. God, let their homes be filled with laughter, peace, and protection, and love. God, let their children grow in wisdom, kindness, and favor. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. God, honor every seed that mothers have planted in love and faith. For the single mothers, strengthen them, remind them that they are not alone and that you are their provider, you are their protector, you are their helper. For the mothers who are grieving, I pray you comfort them. For the mothers who have lost children, surround them with your peace. For the women longing to become mothers, hold them close today. For the mothers who feel exhausted and unseen, remind them that heaven sees them clearly. Psalm 46:5 says, God is within her. She will not fall. Lord, place supernatural strength within every mother today. When they feel weak, be their strength. When they feel discouraged, be their hope. When they feel uncertain, be their wisdom. Bless them physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. Open doors for them. Make ways for them. Surprise them with joy. Let this next season of their lives be filled with favor, peace, and beautiful moments they will never forget. And most importantly, let every mother know how deeply loved she is, not only by her family, but by you. Thank you, God, for the gift of mothers. I pray all these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Happy Mother's Day.
Amen. Amen. Happy Mother's Day. Hi, Jeffrey. Anybody else who have come in? And the ones that are in the bushes. Double tap the face of your phone. It's free, and you know this, man. You already know this. Oh, let's go here. Let's go here.
I want you to think about something with me for a moment. On Mother's Day, May 11th, 2026, I want you to think about something with me for a moment.
Can y'all hear him?
On Mother's Day, May 11th, I want you to think about something.
Get the likes up, y'all. I keep asking y'all to double tap the face of y'all phone. Hit the 3 dots at the top right. Support my platform or I'm going to end it. Yeah, I turned them up. I'm waiting for people to hit the like button. I'm 48 minutes in and only 33 likes. Yeah. Go ahead and drop down if you can't hit the like button. Send the cash app. Do something. Instead of sitting here eavesdropping for the tea.
With me for a moment. I want you to think about something with me for a moment. On Mother's Day, May 11th, 2026, the President of the United States sat down not with his family, not in a policy meeting, but on his phone and demanded that a cable news network silence a sitting United States congressman.
What?
Now, I've been in politics a long time.
What?
I've had people say terrible things about me on television. Now, I've been in politics a long time. I've had people say that a cable news network silence a sitting United States congressman. Now, I've been in politics a long time. I've had people say terrible things about me on television. I've watched opponents twist my record 6 ways to Sunday. But never, not once, did I think the answer was to call up the network and say, don't let that person talk. Because here's the thing about democracy. It's messy. People you disagree with get a microphone. That's not a bug, that's the whole point. Now, Congressman Ro Khanna went on Fox News that morning and talked about Chinese steel coming into American ports. He talked about a bill he introduced to rebuild our domestic steel industry. That's it. That's what set this off.
And we'll come back to a certain ballroom in just a minute, because that part of the story, well, that's where things get interesting. But the fact that a president would respond to a policy argument with the words, should not be allowed on, folks, that language matters. That's not media criticism. That's something else entirely. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we know what it is.
Absolutely.
Now look, let me set the stage for you. This wasn't an isolated outburst. On that single Sunday, President Trump posted more than a dozen attacks on Truth Social. He went after Ro Khanna. He went after Fox News anchor Jackie Heinrich by name. He attacked Bill Maher, Hakeem Jeffries, the Supreme Court, his own appointees, Barrett and
Not a
Gorsuch,
hearing aid.
Iran, and Barack Obama, all in one afternoon on Mother's Day.
Oh,
When I
wow.
was president, if I had a disagreement with a Republican, the Supreme Court, his own appointees, Barrett and Gorsuch, Iran, and Barack Obama, all in one afternoon on Mother's Day. When I was president, if I had a
Barack,
disagreement with a
Barrett.
Republican congressman,
Hold on.
now look, let me set the stage for you. This wasn't an isolated outburst. On that single Sunday, President Trump posted more than a dozen attacks on Truth Social. He went after Ro Khanna. He went after Fox News anchor Jackie Heinrich by name. He attacked Bill Maher, Hakeem Jeffries, the Supreme Court, his own appointees, Barrett and Gorsuch, Iran, and Barack Obama, all in one afternoon on Mother's Day. When I was president, if I had a disagreement with a Republican congressman, and believe me, I had plenty, I picked up the phone. I invited them to the White House. We sat down, we argued, we found common ground where we could and where we couldn't. We went to the floor and made our case. That's governance. What we saw on May 11th is not governance. It's performance. And the danger with performance politics is that after a while, people stop noticing how abnormal it is. Let me tell you something. A president's attention is the most valuable resource in the world. Every minute spent rage posting about a California congressman is a minute not spent on the upcoming summit with Xi Jinping, not spent on the Iran negotiations that are falling apart, not spent on the Americans who need their leader focused. The presidency is not a social
Naturally,
media account.
Norland.
It's a sacred trust. And when
Happy
that
Mother's
trust gets
Day.
spent on personal grievances, the whole country pays the price. Let me walk you through what actually happened, because the facts here are important, and they tell a more interesting story than the shouting. Congressman Khanna appeared on Fox News' The Sunday Briefing with anchor Jackie Heinrich. He
Morning. Sixth floor's product. New product.
discussed Chinese steel arriving at American ports and called for stronger action to protect domestic manufacturing. This is, by the way, an issue that has bipartisan support. Khanna is the ranking member on the Select Committee on China. He just finished a heartland tour through Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. Steel country, auto country, working class country. Trump responded with 2 Truth Social posts. The first called Khanna a sleazebag, radical left congressman from the failed state of California, and said he should not be allowed on Fox News. The second, 2 hours later, called him a wolf in sheep's clothing and scum, then attacked Heinrich
The
for not
devil.
shutting him down. Here's where Khanna's
Manipulating.
response gets interesting. He didn't shout back. He posted 2 things on X. First, the man building a ballroom with foreign steel probably shouldn't call himself the champion of American steel. That's a reference to the New York Times report from April showing Trump's White House ballroom was built with tens of millions in donated European steel from ArcelorMittal. Second, Khanna wrote, "As you learned from the Epstein files, I'm open to
let's
working
go.
across the aisle. So how about signing my steel bill to actually rebuild the American steel industry? Calm, factual, surgical, and that contrast tells you everything. Here's the honest truth about leadership. When someone in the opposing party proposes a bill that aligns with your stated priorities, in this case, rebuilding American steel, a good leader doesn't attack the messenger. A good leader signs the bill and takes half the credit. That's Politics 101. I did it with welfare reform. I did it with the balanced budget. You work with people you disagree with on 90% of things if you can find the 10% that moves the country forward. President Trump says he saved the steel industry through tariffs, but the Supreme Court struck down his IEPA tariffs on February 20th of this year, 6-3. Then on May 7th, just 4 days before this blowup, the Court of International Trade ruled his replacement 10% tariffs illegal too, so his tariff strategy is in legal freefall. And here comes Congressman Khanna offering a legislative path, a bill that would actually build new steel plants in deindustrialized communities. The smart move, the presidential move, would be to say, let's talk. Instead, the president demanded a news network silence the man offering him a lifeline. And on that same day, Trump posted, All federal agencies must buy American, while his own ballroom is built with European steel. That's not hypocrisy as a character flaw. That's hypocrisy as a governance failure. It means the policy isn't serious. It's a slogan, and slogans don't
Hey,
build steel
Crystal.
plants. Now we've got to remember something fundamental. The free press is not a convenience, it's a constitutional commitment. And when a president says a congressman should not be allowed on a news channel and then attacks the anchor by name for not shutting him down, that's not media criticism. That's a blueprint for state-controlled messaging. Look at the pattern. Last week, Trump demanded Fox remove Jessica Tarlov from The Five. He attacked Shannon Bream. Now he's gone after Jackie Heinrich. And he capped it all by claiming MAGA Republicans, who are actually close to 100% of the party, hate Fox. He said it's hard to win elections like this, as if a news network's job is to help one party win. Here's what the data actually shows. Pew Research found 57% of Republicans regularly get their news from Fox, more than double any other source. 56% say they trust it. So the president's own voters don't agree with him on this. But here's why it matters beyond the numbers. If Fox capitulates, if they start pulling Democrats off the air to avoid presidential fury, then we don't have a free press anymore. We have a permission-based press. And once you lose that, folks, it's very hard to get it back. I saw authoritarian leaders try this around the world during my presidency. The playbook is always the same. Discredit, intimidate, replace. We cannot let that playbook work here.
Why
Now let me
is
tell
she
you something
speaking?
about what Congressman Khanna did that I think is strategically important for Democrats, and frankly, for the country. He didn't match Trump's volume. He matched him on substance. When Trump called him a sleazebag, Khanna pointed to the foreign steel in the White House ballroom. When Trump claimed credit for saving steel, Khanna offered him a bill to actually do it. When Trump demanded he be silenced, Khanna said, "This is why I go on Fox." That's political judo, using your opponent's force against him. And there's something else.
Are you looking to establish your business using an address other than your home? Well, at iPostal One,
Khanna didn't just tweet from Washington. He spent the week before this on a Heartland tour, May 7th through 9th, through Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, with Congressman Chris DeLuzio and Marcy Kaptur. He was in steel towns. He was talking to union workers. He was on the ground in the places Democrats need to win back. Now, I've always believed Democrats win when they show up everywhere, not just in the places that already agree with them. You've got to go into the diners and the union halls, and yes, onto Fox News, and make your case. Khanna's doing that, and the fact that it drove the president to a public meltdown tells you it's working.
Lights up, please. Double tap the face of your phone. Get my lights up. I hope it was a big, good day. Yeah, I think we need to come back tomorrow because I'm just not gonna do this. I was up all night last night trying to make sure y'all got the tea. Yeah, get out. I don't wanna have to fuss. I'm not gonna make people appreciate my efforts. I'm just not gonna bring the tea. I'm just not. You know. Saw you at 3:08. Yep. I was late to brunch.
But let me be careful here. I'm not saying this is a magic formula. It only works if there's Democrats need to win back. Now, I've always believed Democrats win when they show up everywhere, not just in the places that already agree with them. You've got to go into the diners and the union halls, and yes, onto Fox News, and make your case. Khanna's doing that, and the fact that it drove the president to a public meltdown tells you it's working. But let me be careful here. I'm not saying this is a magic formula. It only works if there's real policy behind it. The Modern Steel Act has to deliver. The follow-through matters more than the moment. Democrats have to be the party of results, not just responses. So where does this lead? Let me give you my honest assessment, and this is where things start to get complicated. First, Trump's war with Fox News is escalating. If he keeps attacking their anchors and demanding editorial control, Fox faces a choice: bend the knee or assert independence. Either outcome reshapes conservative media for a generation. If they bend, the information ecosystem gets more closed. If they resist, Trump may try to destroy them the way he's tried to destroy every institution that defies him. Second, the Steal Bill. Khan's challenged Trump publicly to sign it. If Trump ignores it, Democrats have a ready-made message in every Rust Belt district. We wrote the bill, he refused to sign it. If Trump embraces it, well, good policy gets enacted and both sides can claim credit. That's actually how government is supposed to work. Third, and this concerns me most, the president is simultaneously attacking Congress, the press, and his own Supreme Court appointees. He wrote that Barrett and Gorsuch hurt our country so badly by ruling against his tariffs. He said, "I don't want loyalty, but I do want and expect it for our country," which means loyalty. When a leader demands obedience from all three branches and the fourth estate, that's not conservatism, that's consolidation. And the historical record on where that leads is not ambiguous. The Xi summit is days away. The Iran talks are collapsing. Courts are striking down tariffs. And the president is posting about Ro Khanna. Let me leave you with this. I've seen a lot of politics in my life. I've been the target of investigations, impeachment, and more personal attacks than I care to remember. But through all of it, I never lost faith in the basic architecture of American democracy, the separation of powers, the independence of the press, the right of every elected official to speak their mind without fear of presidential action. What happened on May 11th wasn't just a Twitter fight. It was a president telling the country that disagreement is disloyalty, that journalism is betrayal, and that a congressman advocating for American workers is scum who should be silenced. Now, the video title says Khanna torched Trump. I'd put it differently. I'd say a congressman did his job, calmly, factually, with a policy proposal in hand, and the most powerful man in the world couldn't handle it. That tells you something. Not about Khanna's strength, though he showed plenty of it. It tells you something about the fragility at the center of this presidency. Real strength doesn't rage at every challenge. Real strength welcomes the debate and wins on the merits. The guardrails are bending, folks. The courts, the press, the basic norms of decency between political opponents. They're all under pressure, but they haven't broken. And they as long as people keep showing up. On Fox News, in steel towns, in the halls of Congress. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. It never has been. And the moment we're fighting for it is the moment we lose it. So let's not lose it.
Okay, all right. All depositions.
The Trump regime, working with MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate, have shut down all valid under oath proceedings at this point. This is full-fledged kangaroo court stuff, as Donald Trump is, in my opinion, protecting the Epstein class and covering up his dark past. There were numerous depositions that were supposed to take place in the House of Representatives. Howard Lutnick's deposition this past week. In a few weeks, Pam Bondi's deposition. Like other depositions, these are supposed to take place on video and under oath. You get sworn in by the court reporter and you give testimony. You may recall a few weeks back I was talking about how the Democrats had said the Republicans are going to shut down testimony and that they were going to instead do informal meet and greets from here on out.
What is he so scared of?
Epstein file witnesses like Lutnick and Bondi and other people. And lots of people were like, Ben, you're being an alarmist. They're not going to do, no way. It's the House Oversight Committee. They're still going to do oversight. Even if we disagree with James Comer, they're still going to do depositions. And then this week we saw the plan in action. Howard Lutnick shows up to his deposition, or so we thought. And they go, nah, it's actually not a deposition. Take away the cameras. We're just chatting. We're just gonna play this informal and cool. And then Lutnick proceeded to say ridiculous things like, I don't know how I got to the island. It surprised me. Yeah, it's a bit inexplicable and surprising, but just not sure how I did that. So, Howard Lutnick, do you still believe that Epstein is one of the biggest blackmailers in history? No, I mean, but you said that on TV before, and you said that's why you never hung out with Epstein again, but then you were on him. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. That's just simply not something I agree anymore. Hey, Lutnick, are you in coordination right now with the White House for your deposition today? Are you speaking with people about your testimony? Is that why it's changed? Yeah, I don't recall. I don't know. I don't know. You don't recall? You don't? I may have been talking. You may have been talking to them. Not only that, but then it's a transcribed interview, right? So
His image is lost, Mrs.
that when you
Tom.
do a transcribed interview, it should be
What
pretty easy
image?
to release the transcription right after it ends, but no, they don't release the transcription after. Instead, you've got all the MAGA Republicans who try to get out there and say, it's a witch hunt, nothing to see here. Then they do their WMD, their weapon of mass distraction. I don't care what political party affiliation, we should all want these witnesses the same way. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton should never have been deposed in the first place. They were on video. They testified under oath. James Comer and MAGA said they can't be transcribed interviews. Those are worthless. So they testified under oath. But now you're doing transcribed interviews for Bondi, for Lutnick, and from everyone from here on out. You're shutting down depositions and testimony. I mean, it's the most absurd thing. So when we've been talking about some of these developments in the courts, you have, number one, Trump appointing judges who refuse to say that Trump lost the 2020 election, refused to say that January 6th was an attack on the Capitol, and refused to say that Donald Trump can't serve 3 terms. So I just want to talk to you about just very recently, this attack on the law, like on law school, on law and order, on the way lawyers are supposed to. So we've got judges now who just are basically not just political hacks, but live in Trump Mar-a-Lago weirdo fantasy world, right? So you've got that playing out. Then you have these no longer doing depositions or hearings when it comes to oversight, just informal interviews that don't matter, that don't carry with it the weight of penalty of perjury. So you've got that. And then you got Donald Trump doing lawsuits against the U.S. government, so it's basically Trump v. Trump, and making the taxpayers pay settlements to Donald Trump as more and more companies and institutions are standing up to Donald Trump and refusing to back down in the face of Donald Trump's lawsuits. So that's where we're at right now. Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, podcast, and Substack. I mean,
have you heard that vaginal estrogen is only for vaginal dryness? That it's local only and can't help the rest of the body?
So now the people who have brought you actual fake news, right? The people who have brought you, just lies about the 2020 election, lies about all this, they're now bringing you fake depositions. That's their new thing. And fake court cases where Trump's the plaintiff and the defendant so he can declare himself the winner. And now they're doing fake depositions that don't matter, where people can lie under oath. And it kind of reminds me, Harry, like what they do overseas, fake ceasefires that they just announce on their own. By the way, it's an authoritarian mindset in my view, because Putin announces his own ceasefires unilaterally with Ukraine. I want a ceasefire, so we're going to do it now. And it's like, yeah, normally you talk to the other party when you want a ceasefire, and you actually make a deal versus just saying it's so. But this is where we're at right now. The weekend of May 9th and May 10th, as we're recording this, Harry, that's where we are. Fake everything. Just like
fake.
Trump.
Fake president.
This, fake that. Fake this. Here you are.
Yeah, fake
law.
assassination.
What do you
Fake.
make of it, Harry?
Fake.
You're totally right.
Peace
and
treaties.
You're very trenchant, Ben, to sort of align this with broader practices. It can look like a bit of buffoonery or one-sided justice. This is the authoritarian playbook. You also have fake elections, fake free speech, fake freedom of commerce, and that's the absolute strategy of an authoritarian. Look, let's go to your 2 examples. Oversight, serious oversight, any matter that's serious enough for oversight, you have to have depositions, you have to have penalty of perjury. That, it's just the difference between major league rules and little league. Everyone knows, and you got to wonder, what is it that they're so concerned about playing by the normal rules? You brought up Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and they were just completely bullied into having to be under testimony and raise their right hands. But my Lord, if you're trying to get somewhere, it's all the difference in the world. And incidentally, notice how the Republicans have used it. They've not only forced officials to swear, but they've then used their testimony to concoct completely far-fetched claims of perjury, right? That's what they were doing with Comey. That's what they were doing with Jerome Powell. The subject matter with Powell was the overruns of costs, but what they were trying to make a federal case of was the actual sort of quibble with some of the substance of what he testified that never would be that. But you've got to be able to tell it straight. And Lutnick is a perfect example. He doesn't come in with a clean record, right? He comes in as someone who's already completely confabulated in front of Congress on his relationship to Epstein. And you got to put a guy like that under oath. Indeed, I'm kind of stunned. If you were playing it all by the old rules, he would have been forced to resign from the cabinet long since. That kind of bald line. All right, I want to go to your second example, though, because it's the one I've been really focused on. You're totally right. They've been making a mockery of not just standard practice for lawsuits, constitutional rules. The Constitution says you can only, federal courts hear actual adversarial lawsuits where one person's on one side, one's on the other, and the actual friction between them is what gives rise to the essential ability of a court to decide. And when you take a guy like Michael Flynn and say, oh, you've sued us for whatever it is, how's about $1.25 million? But you're obviously on the same side. They've done it obviously with Bannon. And they are really proposing to do it with Trump. A suit, Trump versus IRS, is a joke of a proceeding, but it's also an unconstitutional one. And finally, a court has recognized that. So I just want to point out, I hope we'll be talking about it after the May 20th, because a judge said, hey, wait a second, I can't act at all. I don't have the power to act. I don't have jurisdiction if this is a pretend lawsuit. And there's nobody even to take the position and argue there, right? They do these things where they say, we want to do this settlement. The defendant doesn't object. No shit, the defendant doesn't object. They're on the same side. It's what I've called jumping the V in many things I've written. But now this judge has said for May 20th in the Trump IRS suit, I've got John Gleason, legendary former AUSA and judge, and Faith Gay, legendary litigator, and Don Verrilli, legendary former SG, to come in and advise me. And that is also, the Department of Justice is going to have to come in on the 20th. And what are they going to say? Are they going to say, oh no, we really are opposed to Trump with the reams of evidence showing otherwise from Todd Blanche? Are they going to say, yeah, we're not really, especially since there's this reg that says we have to do what he says? Well, that's the same as saying not just this lawsuit, but all the other ones are not just funky, but unconstitutional. So that could have real fallout. Somebody's finally waking up and kind of minding the store, at least, initially, on this series of collusive lawsuits. Your basic theme is absolutely right, and I think it's, broadly speaking, what happens to totalitarian societies. But this one instance of it is so friggin' rank that they just take their, it was once USV Littman, and then they become friendly with them, and it's no longer a lawsuit, and they say, help yourself, you poor aggrieved person, to taxpayer money. It looks like they may be thinking about doing this with the January 6th defendants. it's a friggin' outrage.
I think that people should just.
Imagine putting whitening strips on your toilet. That's what this is.
This toilet stand eliminator works wonders. We realized most homes have the buildup of limescale in their pipes, and it shows in your toilet bowls. You can use harmful chemicals.
Go under oath, I mean, if it's part of, it's part of being a public servant. It's not easy to be a public servant. It is a sacrifice to be a public servant, and it requires that you subject yourself to oversight. And here's the thing, Harry, Howard Lutnick wants to be Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick, and he runs a private business. There may be litigation that happens, and that's a private matter. It's a private world. I may be critical if Cantor Fitzgerald does things that may be harm. I don't know what their portfolio is. I don't know if they're building data centers that may harm communities and areas. I don't know what they're doing, Harry, one way or the other. But they're a private company. Howard Lutnick, your business is private. You're not on my radar. In America, dude, you'll go through the regular process. Now you're a public servant, okay? You're the Commerce Secretary. You're representing the U.S. in major deals, and you voluntarily go on yourself, you go on to New York Post, and you start to say things about Epstein voluntarily, and it turns out that it's false when you're in the files and you brought your kids to the island. Okay, well, now you got to answer these questions, and you should do it under oath so that the American people are comfortable with the Commerce Secretary. And by the way, maybe you do the deposition, you go, hey, look, I know I said that to the New York Post. I made a mistake, whatever your thing is. And we may still go, that's egregious. Come on, man. What are you talking about? That's hard. What kind of judgment is that you brought children to the island after Epstein was guilty? Like, you can't be representing the country. That's how a lot of other countries, Harry, have dealt with people with far less connectivity to Epstein than we already know Lutnick's was. Lutnick in any other country would be gone. And frankly, everybody else in Trump's orbit, including Trump, would be as well, based on the standards that are applied in other countries. It's given. I just think that, what? There's oversight. You have to answer these questions. The American people can judge that publicly, transparently. And maybe you have an answer. Hey, you know what? The reason we're on this business deal was because it's actually a broader fund. And I don't think that one works. I think the American people are still rightfully outraged the way I would be, but explain it under oath. Or
exactly. Look,
this
is how we settle disputes in this country. Can you imagine a court proceeding where somebody was called to the stand and said, just between friends, can we forget about that swearing part of it? We'll just chat. That's what oversight means, and it just requires from these guys in particular. That is what it means to get to the bottom of something. And really, when you think about it, there's not even an argument for why should Pam Bondi, who knows all these things, be able to just say it, but not under penalty of perjury. And that's why, in fact, what happened with Lutnick is how they're trying to play it, and how it happened with Bondi. They just sort of show up, and then there's a quick kind of subterfuge move by the Republicans. Quick vote, okay, you can come in, and we don't have to worry about that raising your right hand thing, because there's no principled argument to make as to why we should call someone important to get information we need. For oversight, we have to do, but we don't really care if they're under compulsion of perjury. That's exactly where you are. And it's, as you say, it's no fun being under compulsion of perjury, but anyone who's settling an important dispute in this country, in court, private people, in Congress, wherever, raises their right hand. That's the whole reason that we have the oath in the first place.
Everybody subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel.
Thank you, Ben. I don't remember his name. I was going to say George, but I don't think that's his name. Okay, on to the next one, y'all. I don't. Okay. Ooh, we got some good stuff. Mm, 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 mm. Let's do this one.
Water. Every single licensing deal, gone. The termination clause references material breach
He
of brand.
popping back.
This morning at 9:47 a.m. Eastern, documents crossed my desk that fundamentally alter the Trump financial landscape. I am holding the licensing termination notice. Before you dismiss this as just another business setback, understand what this represents. I've built cases for 30 years, prosecuted financial fraud at the federal level, and I know what corporate dissolution looks like when powerful entities move to protect themselves. This is not speculation. This is documented severance of business relationships that generated hundreds of millions in licensing revenue. Let me show you exactly what happened. The notice arrived via certified mail to Trump Organization headquarters on May 4th at 2:14 p.m. Page 3, paragraph 7 states the termination is effective immediately for all merchandise licensing agreements across 17 product categories. We are talking about clothing lines, accessories, home goods, fragrances, eyewear, footwear, leather products, watches, cufflinks, bedding, furniture, lighting, cologne, vitamins, steaks, and bottled water. Every single licensing deal, gone. The termination clause references material breach of brand standards provisions contained in Section 12, 4 of the Master Licensing Framework Agreement executed March 2019. Here's what the document actually says. Quote, licensor hereby exercises termination rights pursuant to Morals Clause invocation based on ongoing reputational damage that materially impairs commercial viability of licensed marks. End quote. Let me translate what that means in plain English. You have heard the term Morals Clause. Here is what it actually means in commercial licensing agreements. When a celebrity or public figure licenses their name to manufacturers, those contracts include provisions allowing manufacturers to terminate if the person's reputation becomes so damaged it hurts sales. Outside court, you would call it the bad publicity escape hatch. In my experience prosecuting fraud cases, I have seen these clauses invoked maybe a dozen times in 30 years. They appear in every major licensing deal, but almost never get used because the threshold for reputational damage is extremely high. The manufacturer has to prove the name recognition that made the deal valuable has now become a liability. That is exactly what 17 different licensing partners concluded simultaneously. The manufacturers did not make this decision lightly. Each termination triggers contractual penalties for early exit. We are looking at liquidated damages provisions that could cost these companies between $2 and $8 million per terminated agreement. They are willing to pay those penalties to stop associating their products with the Trump name. That tells you everything about how toxic the brand has become in commercial markets. When I prosecuted racketeering cases, we followed the money. The money just ran away from this partnership. Now let me show you the timeline. On April 12th, the New York civil fraud judgment entered final enforcement phase. On April 19th, Trump media stock dropped 43% in 5 trading days. On April 26th, licensing partners requested emergency board meetings. On May 2nd, legal counsel circulated termination notice templates. On May 4th at 2:14 p.m., 17 termination notices arrived simultaneously. Once is an accident, twice is coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. But here is what makes this particularly devastating. The metadata shows documents prepared by Sullivan and Cromwell, one of the most elite corporate law firms in America. These are Fortune 500 companies with dedicated legal departments who paid premium rates to ensure bulletproof termination. The preparation timeline indicates 3 weeks of legal review. Every possible contractual vulnerability was analyzed. This was surgical corporate divorce executed to prevent legal recourse. Let me walk you through what this means financially. In fiscal year 2022, licensing revenue represented approximately $237 million in gross receipts to the Trump Organization, according to financial disclosure documents filed with the Office of Government Ethics. That number appears on page 47 of the annual report. The licensing agreements operated on tiered royalty structures, typically ranging from 12 to 18% of wholesale value. Removing 17 product categories eliminates roughly 81% of that licensing portfolio. We are looking at approximately $192 million in annual revenue that just vanished. Gone. That is not cumulative loss over years. That is annual recurring revenue that stops flowing immediately. Now let me show you how this compounds existing financial pressure. The New York civil fraud judgment totals $454 million plus interest accruing at approximately 9% annually. That interest adds roughly $112,000 every single day. Asset seizure proceedings began April 1st, targeting liquid accounts and marketable securities. The cash burn rate to cover legal fees across 4 simultaneous prosecutions runs approximately $3. $7 million monthly based on court filing disclosures. Now subtract $192 million in annual licensing revenue, and you fundamentally alter the cash flow equation that determines whether someone can meet financial obligations or faces insolvency. Warren Buffett was asked about this development during the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting yesterday. Let me read you exactly what he said. This is from the shareholder Q&A session transcript, page 134, lines 18 through 27. Quote, when you see coordinated corporate flight from a brand name, that tells you market forces have rendered a verdict that transcends political polarization. Businesses exist to generate profit. If they are walking away from revenue despite contractual penalties, they have calculated that association costs exceed termination costs. That is market discipline functioning as designed, end quote. Think about what Buffett just articulated. The Oracle of Omaha, someone who built his entire investing philosophy on long-term value recognition, just told shareholders that markets have concluded the Trump brand creates more liability than value. That is not partisan commentary. That is cold financial analysis from someone whose track record speaks for itself. I know this feels overwhelming. I read your comments every day, asking how someone continues operating with this level of financial pressure. Here is what you need to understand. This is not about politics. This is about whether basic commercial accountability functions when someone's actions create brand toxicity that damages everyone associated with that name. These licensing partners are not making political statements. They are protecting shareholder value. They are responding to market research showing consumer rejection rates that make continued association unsustainable. Let me show you the market research that drove these decisions. Consumer sentiment polling conducted March 2025 shows devastating numbers. For menswear, 68% of target consumers would actively avoid Trump-branded products. Home goods, 73%. Fragrances, 79%. When 3/4 of your customer base rejects your brand name, you have passed the viability threshold. But here is what makes this a broader pattern beyond just business setbacks. This is the fourth major institutional separation we have documented in 16 months. In January 2024, the PGA pulled championship tournaments from Trump golf properties. In July 2024, Deutsche Bank terminated all remaining banking relationships and accelerated loan repayment schedules. In November 2024, the Republican National Committee relocated its donor database and fundraising infrastructure away from Trump-controlled servers. Now in May 2025, 17 merchandise licensing partners execute coordinated brand divorce. Once is an accident, twice is coincidence, 3 times is a pattern, 4 times is institutional consensus that association creates more risk than value. Let me know in the comments, when you see Fortune 500 companies willing to pay millions in early termination penalties to stop associating with a name, does that change how you view the commercial viability of that brand? I read every comment. Now let me show you what happens next. The licensing termination notices include 30-day wind-down provisions. All existing inventory carrying Trump branding must be sold through or destroyed by June 4th. No new production runs. No reorders. Retailers have already received notification that these product lines are discontinued. The manufacturers are required to file final royalty reports by June 15th covering sales through the termination date. After that, the revenue stream stops completely. The contracts include confidentiality provisions prohibiting either party from publicly discussing the termination for 12 months, which explains why this happened quietly without advance media coverage. But the court filings are public record. The termination notices were filed with the New York Secretary of State on May 5th as required for dissolution of commercial partnerships. Docket entry number 2847. Anyone can verify this. Here is what the financial disclosures will show over the next 2 quarters. The Q2 2025 earnings report due August 15th will reflect partial quarter licensing revenue showing significant decline. The Q3 2025 report due November 15th will show the first full quarter with 0 licensing revenue from these 17 product categories. Watch those disclosure documents. The numbers will confirm exactly what these termination notices established. This is not speculation about future developments. This is documented current reality with predictable financial consequences that will appear in mandatory disclosure filings. The broader pattern reveals something that transcends individual business relationships. We are watching market-based accountability function exactly as economic theory predicts. When brand association creates measurable financial damage, rational economic actors sever those associations regardless of political considerations. The manufacturers did not coordinate this termination because of partisan agenda. They made identical risk calculations based on identical market research, showing identical consumer rejection patterns. That is how markets discipline brand value. When a name stops generating premium pricing and starts generating customer avoidance, that name becomes worthless as licensing property. I know some of you are thinking this represents political persecution. Let me be clear. I have built cases for 30 years. I have seen actual conspiracy. This is not that. This is 17 independent companies reaching identical conclusions based on market research showing consumer sentiment has reached unsustainable levels. The simultaneity reflects shared market intelligence, not coordinated attack. Business leaders are seeing devastating internal data. Customer focus groups expressing active hostility. Sales representatives reporting retail resistance. Market research projecting 3 to 5 year recovery timeline. Board members asking why the company continues paying royalties for brand association that depresses sales. Fiduciary duty to shareholders requires acknowledging reality. The Trump organization will dispute this. They will claim political targeting. But 17 manufacturers looked at market data, consulted, calculated.
Get the likes up, y'all. I mean, like ASAP.
Better than continuing these partnerships. Does this prove the commercial marketplace has judgment appear in mandatory disclosure filings? The broader pattern reveals something that transcends individual business relationships. We are watching market-based accountability function exactly as economic theory predicts. When brand association creates measurable financial damage, rational economic actors sever those associations regardless of political considerations. The manufacturers did not coordinate this termination because of partisan agenda. They made identical risk calculations based on identical market research, showing identical consumer rejection patterns. That is how markets discipline brand value. Premium price property. I know some of you are thinking this represents political persecution. Let me be clear. I have built cases for 30 years. I have seen actual conspiracy. This is not that. This is 17 independent companies reaching identical conclusions based on market research showing consumer sentiment has reached unsustainable levels. The simultaneity reflects shared market intelligence, not coordinated attack. Business leaders are seeing devastating internal data. Customer focus groups expressing active hostility. Sales representatives reporting retail resistance. Market research projecting 3 to 5 year recovery timeline. Board members asking why the company continues paying royalties for brand association that depresses sales. Fiduciary duty to shareholders requires acknowledging reality. The Trump organization will dispute this. They will claim political targeting. But 17 manufacturers looked at market data, consulted legal counsel, calculated penalties, and concluded that paying millions to exit served shareholder interests better than continuing these partnerships. Does this prove the commercial marketplace has rendered final judgment on brand viability, or do you see this differently? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone. Here is why this matters beyond one business empire. This represents a test case for whether reputational consequences function in commercial markets the same way legal accountability functions in judicial systems. We talk constantly about equal justice under law. This situation demonstrates equal exposure to market discipline. When actions create brand toxicity, markets respond. The response is not political. It is economic. Companies exist to generate profit for shareholders. When brand association threatens that mission, associations get severed. That is capitalism functioning as designed. The termination documents are public record. The financial disclosures will confirm revenue loss. Anyone can verify these facts through document requests. The termination notices filed with New York Secretary of State are available. This is documented commercial reality. Watch for the Q2 earnings disclosure due August 15th. Watch for any subsequent legal challenges to the terminations claiming wrongful breach. Watch for attempts to replace lost licensing revenue through alternative partnerships. Those developments will tell us whether this represents temporary business setback or permanent brand value collapse. I will be tracking every filing, every disclosure, every legal motion in this commercial dissolution. Court documents and corporate filings, not media speculation. No one is above the law, and no brand is above market discipline. When consumers reject a name and manufacturers calculate that association destroys value, commercial partnerships end regardless of who controls that name. This is how accountability functions in economic systems.
We are watching it happen in real time with 17 simultaneous termination notices backed by elite legal counsel and driven by market research showing unprecedented brand toxicity. If you want to follow how this develops, if you value evidence-based analysis using primary source documents rather than partisan speculation, subscribe to this channel. I cover legal and commercial accountability using the same standards I applied prosecuting federal cases for 3 decades. Facts without spin, evidence without noise, documents not headlines. The licensing empire just dissolved. The revenue stream just stopped. The market just delivered its verdict. No one is immune to the consequences when their actions destroy the commercial value of their own name.
Okay. Let me see where I'm going.
If you want to publish your book in 2026, you need to hear this. There are only 4 real ways on how to publish a book, and most authors.
Donald Trump's financial.
What? I don't know if this is where.
Filings are raising massive red flags. Not only that, we're seeing massive failures in other Donald Trump entities. I'm going to discuss what went down. First, let's talk about the red flags in his financial filings. Trump Media, the parent company of Truth Social, reporting that for the first quarter of 2026, they only had sales of $871,000. And when you look at what their net loss was, for the first quarter of 2026, $405 million. That's the net loss. I don't know how else you could describe Trump Media, the parent company of Truth Social, as anything but an utter failure. Now, I'm just expressing my opinion. You can disagree with my opinion, but let's take a look at the stock price. Donald Trump loves to say, the Dow this, the S&P this. Okay, well, let's take a look at your stock. How are you handling your business, your company? Are you thriving? I mean, you have unlimited resources, given that you use the Oval Office to do essentially anything you want, not following the Constitution. So how's your business doing? Well, you take a look right here. Right now it's trading at $8.93. You'll recall that when Trump Media announced that it was going to be going public with this SPAC, it was trading at around $100 or more. When SPACs are initially announced, special purpose acquisition companies, they're usually announced at $10 per share to start. So now it's trading under that at $8.93. So what's the next big grift? That I call it a grift in my opinion, that the Trump Media company is doing. So as it announced this horrible $406 or $405 million net loss, it also is announcing that it will be doing a merger with a nuclear fusion company, or it's going to harness fusion energy, and it just so happens that the fusion company has lots of important dealings with the Department of Energy, and this is going to be the next thing that they jump into, a merger that's going to deal with a fusion company, and Trump Media will become a fusion company. I mean, you can dig into some of the numbers right here, as Max currently explains. So it's an unrealized investment loss because Trump Media is a levered crypto holding company with a small media subsidiary. I think, in my opinion, that's one way to look at it, that it has this Trump Media thing. But what it also did, as Donald Trump's been talking about, making a reserve of cryptocurrency, and Trump said he's going to be the crypto president. But remember, crypto has declined significantly under the Trump regime as well. Trump Media took massive amounts of crypto holdings, and those holdings
all over this
began
fraud
at a cost basis, if you look at the numbers here, of $1.131 billion. But today that crypto holding now is worth $766 million. And so you have a major loss taking place right there. If you dig deeper into Trump's filings, they talk about all of his past bankruptcies. Like when you look at some of his, older filings, It goes through all of the things that he's bankrupted or things that have gone out of business, whether it's Trump Magazine, vodka, airline, steaks, water, mortgage, travel, game, casinos, university, foundations, and I guess now the United States economy. I mean, you can see right here the way this the bankruptcies went down of his casinos. It talked about the Trump Taj Mahal, built and owned by Trump, filed for Chapter 11 in 1991. Trump Plaza, Trump Castle, Plaza Hotel, all owned by Trump at that time, also filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1992. THCR, which was founded by Trump in 1995, filed for Chapter 11 in 2004. Trump Entertainment Resorts, the new name given to Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts after its 2004 bankruptcy, declared bankruptcy again in 2009. And then it says, well, all of the foregoing, happened. That doesn't mean that Trump Media is going to go bankrupt. Then it goes on to say, here are a number of Trump companies that failed. Trump Shuttles. Then it goes on to say Trump University. It goes on to say Trump Vodka. Then it goes on to say Trump Mortgage, Trump Steaks, Go Trump. It lists all those things I've said. So failure, 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 failure. And let's talk about some other failures that happened recently as well. So you have, the Trump phone. Remember, what was it, last year around June, or was it June or July? They talked about the Trump phone coming out June or July 2025. They said, we're rolling out Trump phones in August of 2025. This was the headline from the New York Times back then. Trump mobile phone company announced by Trump's family, but details are murky. The new company says it will manufacture its Android phone in the United States. Then it goes on to say that, this was last year, that the family business announced that it will be launching a mobile phone and cellular service. The announcement by Eric Trump and Don Jr., the new $499 gold-toned Android phones would be designed and manufactured in the United States, but it's not clear how or when. It said it would have a $47 monthly cellular service. And it goes on to talk about when they think this will be ready. The company said that Trump Mobile would release its own phone, the T1, in August, the latest consumer product to carry the Trump brand. That's last August, okay? So now we're in 2026. We're in May 2026. And
get the likes up now or go away. How long have I been live? Let's see something. Because I don't understand why y'all still here if y'all don't like what you're hearing. Why are you here? Leave. If you don't want to hit the like button, leave. Let the people who appreciate the tea, learning the truth, stay. Those are the only ones that's hitting the like button. If you're not hitting the like button, then you need to go on someplace else. I'm not going to allow you to sit here and listen to the tea if you're not going to hit the like button. Get out. So let's go back to the music. Let's go back to some jazz. Yeah, I'm not going to entertain y'all like that. Get my likes up or get out. And I mean that. Yeah, if you don't like it, leave. Yeah, I'm finna hop in the bathtub since it's taking y'all so long to hit my like button. Yeah. Stand up waiting for y'all to hit the like button. And y'all want to play games. Now I'm finna play a game. Get out. Yeah. Get on out.
That's what the American people think. That's what the American people think. And they deserve some answers. And I know that you're not in charge of these investigations. But you talk to the people who are. And I need you to take a very Christmas ornaments, drywall, and Jerry Epstein. Name 3 things that don't hang
Jerry
themselves.
Epstein.
That's what the American people think. That's what the American people think. And they deserve some Christmas ornaments, drywall, and Jerry Epstein. Name 3 things that don't hang themselves. That's what the American people think. That's what the American people think. And they deserve some answers. And I know that you're not in charge of these investigations. Yes, sir. But you talk to the people who are. And I need you to take a very respectful message today. Tell the American people what happened. And don't rush it so that they don't do a thorough investigation. But you and I both know they can make this a top priority and get it done more quickly than they normally would.
As I indicated in my opening statement, I wanted to talk about the death of Mr. Epstein. Do you concur with the opinion that it was a suicide?
That was the finding of the coroner, sir.
Okay, do you have any evidence to suggest otherwise?
I do not.
How could this have happened?
Unfortunately, sir, the death and the whole situation is still under the investigation of the FBI and the Inspector General's office, and I'm really not at liberty to discuss specifics of this case. I can discuss issues around institutional operations, but I can't specifically talk about that particular issue.
Okay. With a case this high profile, there's got to be either major malfunction of the system or a criminal enterprise at foot to allow this to happen. So are you looking at both? Is the FBI looking at both?
If the FBI is involved, then they are looking at criminal enterprise, yes.
Do we have people in custody today of this high-profile nature? Have we done anything to adjust since Mr. Epstein?
And when you look at the latest update on Trump Mobile, let's take a look at that latest update from Trump Mobile so we can all see together. Here's what it says. Meet the T1 phone, premium American-made smartphone. Meet the T1. The T1 isn't just conditions. April 6, 2026. No one's got
Hey,
the
say
Trump
that.
phone. And so here's what it says. The Trump Mobile pre-order deposit terms and conditions govern any pre-order. Because they sold a ton of pre-orders. I don't know how much money they made, but they could have made tens of millions of dollars in pre-orders of this phone. So here's what it says. By placing a deposit, you acknowledge that you have read, understood, and agreed to be bound by these terms. So what are the terms that you agreed to be bound by? A pre-order deposit provides only a conditional opportunity if Trump Mobile later elects in its sole discretion to offer the device for sale. A deposit is not a purchase, does not constitute acceptance of an offer, does not create a contract for sale, does not transfer ownership, does not allocate or reserve specific inventory, and it does not guarantee that a device will be produced or made available to purchase. So when you're buying this, you're actually not buying anything binding. A binding sales contract is formed only if all of the following occur. Trump Mobile makes the device available for sale, You complete checkout, you submit full payment, and Trump Mobile accepts and successfully processes payment. Until those conditions, no enforceable agreement is satisfied. No guarantee or release, delivery, or timing. Estimated ship dates, launch timelines, or anticipated production schedules are non-binding estimates only. Trump Mobile does not guarantee that the device will be commercially released. Regulatory approvals will be obtained. Carrier certification will be secured. Production will commence they're not even guaranteeing that they will commence production or delivery will occur within any specific time frame. Trump Mobile will not be responsible for delay, modification, or failure to release a device due to causes beyond its reasonable control, including but not limited to regulatory review, carrier certification delays, component shortages, labor disruption, governmental orders, acts, transportation, or third-party supply failures. No guarantee of network capability or performance. Device capability, functionality, performance, and feature availability are not guaranteed and may vary materially based on carrier certification, network conditions, regulatory approvals, software or firmware changes, geographic location, and service plan configuration. In other words, as I read it, you may read it differently. I'll give you my opinion. They're saying we don't have to make it. We don't have to give it to you. Give us a deposit. Good luck. See you later, alligator. Goodbye, basically, is what they're saying. Let's check in with how those Trump gold cards are doing. Trump $1 million gold card fails to catch on among the world's wealthy. Remember, Howard Lutnick testified before Congress, and he had to admit under oath, finally, that there's only been one gold card that's actually been effectuated. One. Remember, Lutnick and Trump said that there would be trillions of dollars by now brought in because of the gold card, which would replace any other forms of visas, and it would give wealthy oligarchs a path to citizenship, and it would cost, like $5 million, you buy citizenship, and there was so much demand, there was like 50,000 people who wanted to pay $5 million, Lutnick said, and therefore it was going to bring in trillions of dollars. And remember, Lutnick went on this program and that program. Oh, business is booming. I'm selling gold cards left and right. It's the hottest product out there. Gold cards everywhere. No, we know that only one has been effectuated. And then in terms of just the screening process, so one gold card has gotten past the screening process. Only 165 people have even paid the $15,000 visa processing fee, according to the Department of Homeland Security. And then there was a lawsuit filed against the Commerce Department, against the Treasury Department, and against the Trump regime for using this gold card to violate existing EB1 and EB2 programs. And in the lawsuit, the Trump regime was forced to admit that the gold cards are not a way of expediting anything. The Trump regime conceded that you're not going to get any special advantage over EB1 or EB2 programs, and that the gold card is just a gimmick, because when they had to go in court and they had to go under oath, they were justifying the existence of this program by saying, no, it actually is not replacing these other programs, which were actually implemented and instituted by laws. So basically, the argument is this is legal because it actually does not provide anything more than what Congress has already allowed. Therefore, it doesn't violate anything, because it's just a worse version of the EB1 and EB2 and other visa programs. It's essentially, in my opinion, my reading of it, what the argument is. I mean, how utterly pathetic is that? So the gold cards are a failure. Trump media, in my opinion, is a failure. But by the way, if you read the press releases from Trump media, I should have told you this before, this is how they describe it in the press release, as though they have a strong balance sheet right now. They go on to say
Dr. Sebi was dropping to his knees at 81 while you struggle with stiff and sore joint. Most remedies out there just mask the pain, feeding industries instead of truly fixing your joint. So, what's Dr. Sebi's secret? Well, it starts with proper hydration and the right nutrients. Healthy joints are mostly water, but water alone isn't enough. Your cartilage needs...
Trump media closed the first quarter of 2026 with
It's-
total assets of $2.2 billion and financial assets of approximately $2.1 billion, comprising cash, restricted cash, short-term investments, and equity securities. And then its chief executive officer, the interim, because Nunes is no longer the CEO. Trump media is using its strong balance sheet and positive operating cash flow to continue growing all of our business, even as we work toward advancing our proposed merger with TAE Technologies as quickly as possible. We're identifying new growth opportunities and ways to increase shareholder value. And TAE, that's the fusion company they're merging with. And you look at any of these things that these Trump kids are doing too. This was from this week. The U.S. Air Force agreed to buy an undisclosed number of interceptor drones from a company backed by Trump's sons, according to the firm, deepening the military's ties to defense contractors linked to the Trump family. Don Jr. was at the stock exchange recently, taking a gun company public as Trump's DOJ says AR-15s should proliferate everywhere. No bid contracts flying left and right. I mean, did you learn? We were talking about this reflecting pool that Donald Trump's talking about. New York Times did an excellent piece on this. The no bid contract that's turning Washington's reflecting pool blue, and the Times discovered that a $6.9 billion no bid contract was handed out to Donald Trump's pool guy. Group of people who designed Donald Trump's pool at his Virginia golf club. I have a guy who's doing unbelievable swimming pools, Trump said. Trump apparently gave the $6.9 million to his pool guy, who's never had a federal contract before. They're the ones who are doing this painting blue. And what it also, it's called what's the company? Atlantic Industrial Coatings is what they're calling it. And, one of the issues with this pool is that because it's so big, it's not a pool, it's a reflecting pool. It had lots of leak issues before. It would grow lots of algae because of its size, but painting it blue isn't going to change that. It'll probably accentuate the algae and the leaks even more. And then if anyone knows anything about pools and everything, when Trump drove that motorcade across the pool's surface Thursday night, as people were telling the Times who know a thing or two about, construction, this might have put a huge amount of weight on the notoriously leaky and newly prepared joints in its concrete slabs. And now it actually probably needs a new inspection because you're putting all that pressure on it, which has been...
I've been telling all my friends' parents about this learning tablet, Smile Zemi. Smile Zemi is a standalone tablet where children...
Past administrations have tried to deal with this issue because the issue is the algae and the leaks, and because it's so hot, it grows this algae, in D.C. Painting it blue doesn't do that. So fundamentally, let me make this kind of one final conclusion as I tie this all together. We could talk more about all of the contracts that the Trump kids are getting. We could talk about the billions to Kushner and how the Trump kids have increased their net worth apparently by hundreds of millions of dollars, and Trump's increased his net worth by billions of dollars. This has massive implications on our country and our national security. Just point one, the Trump family seems like they can't run anything. Everything's a freaking failure. They make announcements, they don't follow through. And that's kind of how Donald Trump did this catastrophic war with Netanyahu in Iran. Trump liked epic fury. You like the name, the announcement. Well, now you got to run a competent war. You got to have not just a beginning, but a middle and an end. And Donald Trump is running the war like he's running the mobile company and like he's running all those failed companies and like Trump Media. If you can't run your own company successfully, how are you supposed to run all this other stuff out there? And I don't think it's getting enough attention. And there's the massive grift, there's the massive scams, there's the massive failures, there's all of that that we need to be talking about. But also we should be talking about the parallels to this is how he runs everything. They're losers. They're losers and they're a loser family. Don't you? I'm giving you my opinion, but these are loser people who don't handle things carefully and with tact. And everything's a gimmick. Everything's a trick.
A lie.
Everything's, in my opinion, a lie, in my opinion.
And mine too.
Hit subscribe. Let me know what you think.
And mine too, Ben. I'm with you. I am most definitely with you, in my opinion. Okay, y'all listen. I'm not going to continue to entertain this if y'all cannot get the likes up. I'm just not. I'm just not. And I know y'all think I'm playing, but you will see here shortly. Get the likes up. Double tap the face of your screen or get out.
17 Americans on board.
Hit the three dots or leave.
At a medical center in Nebraska.
It's just that simple.
On my show about that statement, and they had prepared a response. I'll tell you what it really struck me as odd, and I've never revealed this before. When I sat down with Erica, I had said nothing on my show about that statement, and they had prepared a response to a question that I wasn't asking. You want to see something else that just struck me as odd, and I don't mean to make people go crazy about this, but when they had AmFest and Erica came out, they played audio of Charlie saying that he wanted Erica to take over for him. And I was curious about that. Because if you have the audio, shouldn't you have the video? Am I crazy for thinking, should you have the video?
Well, in an AI world, can we trust that even if you had the video, because it is so contradictory to everything he said, every time they're in a room together, every podcast, when it comes up to a woman working outside the home with young kids, his basic opinion is, at all costs, please don't do it if you don't have to.
But here's what's interesting is that their story has been that if anything ever happened to him, he wanted Erica to take over. And let me tell you why that suddenly strikes me as odd. Because in that scenario, your first instinct is who's going to look after the kids. Right. So you're saying that what he wanted was for if anything happens to me, I want my kids to essentially become orphans because I know, Charlie knew what it took to run an organization organization of that size. He was constantly on the road. We saw that just when he did, when I put together his calendar of everywhere he was, and that he was constantly. I'll tell you what really struck me as odd, and I've never revealed this before. When I sat down with Erica, I had said nothing on my show about that statement, and they had prepared a response to a question that I wasn't asking. I do want to say something else that just struck me as odd, and I don't mean to make people go crazy about this, but when they had AmFest and Erica came out, they played audio of Charlie saying that he wanted Erica to take over for him. And I was curious about that. Because if you have the audio, shouldn't you have the video? Am I crazy for thinking should you have the video?
Well, in an AI world, can we trust that even if you had the video, because it is so contradictory to everything he said, every time they're in a room together, every podcast, when it comes up to a woman working outside the home with young kids, his basic opinion is, at all costs, please don't do it if you don't have to.
But here's what's interesting is that their story has been that if anything ever happened to him, he wanted Erica to take over. And let me tell you why that suddenly strikes me as odd. Because in that scenario, your first instinct is who's going to look after the kids. Right. So you're saying that what he wanted was for if anything happens to me, I want my kids to essentially become orphans because I know, Charlie knew what it took to run an organization of that size. He was constantly on the road. We saw that just when I put together his calendar of everywhere he was, that he was constantly, it's nonstop hours, nonstop flying all over the nation. So he's like, if anything happens to me, I want my children to have not just one parent lost, but two parents lost, and to essentially be raised by nannies. I'll tell you what it really struck me as odd, and I've never revealed this before. I didn't think one way or the other about this statement about Erica taking over. I thought, and I still do believe that at some point in the past he would have said, oh, she's super smart, and he used to say, oh, she's really smart, whatever, great compliments about her. But it struck me as odd because when I sat down with Erica, I had said nothing on my show about that statement, and they had prepared a response to a question that I wasn't asking, meaning that they had a physical printout of a transcript. And they said, well, this is the transcript of when Charlie said, here's what he said about wanting Erica to take over. And I sort of waved it away. I was like, this isn't something that I brought up on my show. Yeah. I don't need proof of something a claim that I haven't made. And then suddenly I went, wait a second, that's kind of weird that you're bringing proof for a claim that I didn't make, which means it's on your mind, not my mind. And so then I asked a little bit more about it, and I said, well, when did he say this? And they said, in August. It's kind of interesting.
Wow.
And I said, was this at Bill Ackman's house? And they said, no, it was at a donor retreat in Aspen. So I hunt down this donor retreat in Aspen and figured when it happened, and I have it on my timeline somewhere. I'll give it up, but this donor retreat in Aspen happens, and I figure out who's at this donor retreat in Aspen, and I reach out, and then they alleged that this was a question that somebody had asked and said, what happens if you die? Which is kind of a weird question. A lot of donor events, nobody's like, hey, what happens when you die? It's pretty, it's a pretty morbid thought, and then you die a month later. And I asked this person to just, hey, do you remember this happening? Person said, no. Reach out to another person that was at this Aspen event. And I said, hey, this is allegedly the event where this question was asked, and I'm now able to figure out also who the donor was that asked, by the way. I'll have that information for you guys soon, but I'd like to reach out to that donor. Do you remember Charlie saying that if anything happens to me, I want Erica to take over? I got another now. Very small group, exclusive group of...
I said get my likes up or get out. Thank you.
Donors in Aspen in August, and thus far 2 do not remember Charlie saying that.
Why should Christians bless and support the Jewish people in Israel? If you're a follower of Jesus,
August, and thus far 2 do not remember Charlie saying that.
If you're 31 years old and someone asks you what's going to happen when you die, those people intend to harm you.
Absolutely.
I cannot look at that innocently.
I agree.
To the contrary, what one person remembers, which sounds much more sensible, was that during Charlie's conversation, he's like saying how Turning Point's going to grow, and they're asking, how are you going to do all of this? Like, you're one person. And because he was kind of building a vision, which is what you do at these like donor events. It's like, here's where we are, here's what we want to do, here's what we're building out. That was Charlie. And apparently Charlie gave some total common sense answer of like, well, that's why I hire people under us to run this, and that. But nobody remembers. Thus far, I've only asked 2 people, him saying, if I die, I want Erica to take over for me.
It would have been so out of character. Because again, every public statement he's ever made, that has not been his position.
Right.
Every single public statement. You go look at his personal podcast, you go look at interviews he sat in on other people's podcasts or radio shows. They talk all the time about, you know, a woman working outside the home. He's like, hey, you know, when they have young kids, it's just probably not the best idea, not the right time to do it. Raise your kids. It would be so out of character for him to say, yeah, I actually want her to take over my 300-day-a-year travel schedule.
And he's also, at that time, don't forget, being massively pressured by donors, right? He's being pressured and yelled at by donors. He's got the Bill Ackman thing happens. Seth Dillon's pressuring him. He's getting people that are saying they're taking millions away from him. And his perspective was, I want my wife to endure this while my children are left absent with no parents. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying thus
with
far, trying to confirm the
PDFers.
story, I can't. And it's bothering me because the obvious thing is they should release the video. Because if you're not, you hooked him up for audio? You're just like, oh, we're just hooking you up for audio for the speech. It's like, if you got audio, you got visual. And I'm told that there was audio and visual at that event in the Hamptons.
Well, I'll say this. I don't believe audio and visual anymore. I need someone in the room to confirm it happened.
Yeah.
I just, the AI revolution, I see videos of me people put up and say, oh, you know, I'm like, I didn't say that. That's not me. You know, and it's usually humorous. It's funny. But somebody would look at that and say, oh, Baron Coleman said this. I'm like, no, I actually never said that.
I'm going to keep going through people at this event and seeing if someone will confirm that on record. But I do think it would be incumbent upon them to release it. It could have happened.
Was it raised in New York at the Hamptons retreat?
It was. Okay. I was told by Erica it was Aspen.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was under the impression the what happens when you die question was out of the Hamptons.
Yeah, because people knew it was August, and so nobody actually knew that there was this donor event that happened in Aspen. And I can actually tell you the dates of it if you.
That actually makes a lot of sense because you hear, hey, a bunch of donors.
What's that, Sky? What? August 15th to 17th. So less than a month before he died.
I mean, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If I'm the FBI, I want to know who asked him what would happen when he dies. Because, again, you don't ask healthy 31-year-olds what's going to happen when they die. That's a weird question to ask a 31-year-old. 31-year-olds don't drop dead. They just don't.
And where he's doing, military training with Mikey, he's like, if anything happens, just go, run. They were doing rehearsals.
Talking about the amazing.
They were running drills.
And you know what
Charlie was like, 1, 2, 3, go. And Mikey was like, just practicing, totally. This is exactly. It just gets longer and longer. There should just be a book called "Everything That Charlie Definitely for Sure Wanted and Asked For." In the event of this tragic, never happened before assassination. And it is. I do not like the fact that we are being told that we have to believe. First they were going to say I was a liar, then they had to confirm that it was true, that Charlie messaged not only Andrew Colbert, but Dan Flood the night before and said that he was worried he was going to be assassinated, but shouldn't he have also, like, would he have not confided that to his wife? Like, she didn't know, she had his phone. Okay, let's say that's true. Maybe you don't want your wife to carry that burden, that you have those fears, and you would rather prefer to say that to security and PR. But even if that is true, you're telling me that after his assassination, Andrew Kova didn't tell Erica?
Right. Well, and there's so many weird things about that.
Dan Flood didn't tell her, hey, right, this has happened. He just texted me. She heard that for the first time when I said it? Today, for the first time, passengers started evacuating the cruise ship at the center of the deadly hantavirus outbreak, which has killed at least 3 people on board. The ship docked in the Canary Islands earlier, where a medical tent was in place to receive passengers in what's expected to be a 2-day process. They'll then be flown back to their home countries on charter flights. The French Prime Minister said one of the 5 French passengers exhibited symptoms on their repatriation flight. We're also learning that the 17 Americans on board will be observed at a medical center in Nebraska. And amid concerns of a continuing spread, Trump officials and health experts this morning worked to quell fears we could be heading into another COVID situation.
The key message I want to send to your audience is that this is not COVID. This is not going to lead to the kind of outbreak.
I do understand that this is not a respiratory disease, meaning it's very difficult, if impossible, to pass through coughing or breathing. It's very rare to see it transmitted between humans.
And joining us now is Joseph Allen, professor of exposure assessment science at Harvard University. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us this evening. You had the chance to speak with a doctor who was on that ship. I'm wondering if you can bring us into that conversation and what it helped you understand about the transmission of this disease.
Yeah, sure, and thanks for having me on. And let me just take a step back and say why I contacted this doctor and why we spoke. I've seen a lot of the official messaging come out, and some of the messaging I just heard there is incorrect, and I can talk about this in a minute. But the messaging I've heard from CDC and others is that this requires prolonged close contact. Now, when I go read the literature about prior outbreaks of this virus, not on a ship, it is very clear we've had transmission that happened very rapidly and did not require close contact. So I wanted to kind of double check myself. So I reached out to this doctor. We were on a Pro TV program earlier in the week together, and I asked him, what is actually happening on the ship, and where am I off, or where are other people off in this messaging? And he confirmed to me something really important, and that's messaging has not broken through. This is what he experienced as he related to me. Yes, as the first patients were sick and being treated, there was close contact with the treating physician on board, and several other staff who were helping that person. Those people got sick. In fact, the ship's doctor got removed from the ship. This other passenger, who happened to be a doctor, then stepped in to start to treat patients. As he relayed to me, the other people who got sick after that, many of who had been removed from the hospital, did not have what he called close contact. They shared time in the dining room or in the lecture room on this ship, but they were not in close physical contact. So I find the official messaging contradicted by what we know from previous outbreaks and is published in the literature, and what I was told about the experience on the ship.
So what do you think is the most important thing right now that the American public should know about what it is that you have learned and what is being said in the literature or what has been written about the literature that is not being communicated, or you might feel like it's not being communicated sufficiently by health officials in this country?
Yeah, so I do think the overall threat to the general public is low, but I do think the public deserves to know what the science is about how this is transmitted, because we need to know how to keep people safe and also know who we should contact trace. From that earlier outbreak, which was on land, it's presented in the New England Journal of Medicine, the first set of human-to-human transmission with this exact virus happened at a birthday party. And at that birthday party, which was only 90 minutes, there are reports where one person transmitted to another where they did not have any physical contact and, in fact, simply said hello to each other in passing. Now, that doesn't sound like prolonged close contact to me. In fact, it's not. There were also people who sat at different tables at that birthday party and got sick. One man at that party who got sick eventually died, passed it to his wife. At his funeral, she transmitted it to 10 other people. So I think we've been underplaying exactly how this is spread, that you need some prolonged, close, or physical contact, when in fact the evidence suggests it can be transmitted by people who aren't in close contact, and in fact it can happen rather rapidly. So I don't think that's been communicated to the public, and this is really important for the people who are going to be quarantined right now, because we have to give them the message that it's not just this intense contact where transmission can occur. We don't want secondary transmission to other people in their house. And they have to recognize that that can mean if you're in the same room, you still need to be taking precautions, and it's not just this super close contact for extended periods of time.
Why do you think it is that the message that has been coming out of our public health officials has been one that emphasizes close physical contact, given your read of the literature, given your understanding of what happened on that ship? Is it that people are not up to date with their understanding of the science here, about what scientists know, I should say? Is it about, trying to create a sense of calm or to depress panic? What do you think is going on here, and how would you counsel public officials to change their messaging?
Yeah, I'm not sure the motivations, but some of it is trying to reassure people, which I think is fair. This is not going to be a COVID blow up, but some of the messaging I heard before I got on the air from the government officials that this is impossible to pass, that it's really difficult to pass. The literature is very clear that that's simply not the case.
I don't believe
I
nothing
have
they
to be
say.
honest, I do forensic investigations like this frequently. And when I first started hearing this message of you need prolonged close contact, I thought, okay, this probably
What's
a good
the
scientific basis
point
for this.
of
When
creating it and
best
putting it
paper
out?
on transmission of this virus, I was expecting to find that statement supported by the paper, and in fact, it's not at all supported by the paper.
Starting by the same way the other one did on the
Shows
ship.
that in fact you don't need prolonged periods of time, and you don't need close contact. So I've been harping on this on social media, and whoever I can get this message to, that the official messaging is contradicting what we know in the science. We know very little actually about the spread of the Andes strain. We have one or two studies. We have this event happening on the ship. I just think it's smart to be a little more cautious about our messaging to the public and making it seem like it's so incredibly hard to transmit. We all have a collective interest in making sure that these people are safe and cared for, and that we don't have ongoing secondary transmission. To prevent that secondary transmission,
But they are saying nobody was
telling the
on
public
that
how it
ship
is
but that guy.
so that they can take the appropriate precautions and not be misled about what may happen in their home if they go back for quarantine.
So, Joseph, that's actually petrifying that your interpretation and reading of the literature does contrast with the official messaging and guidance that we're getting from our public health officials. I guess just big picture, because COVID is the marker for everyone when it comes to how we think about a pandemic. How would you compare this to COVID and transmission? And then as a second part of that
Lights
question,
up.
you're
I'm
an
shutting
expert
down.
in closed spaces, and our physical spaces, have they improved since COVID when it comes to how we're going to approach a possible pandemic?
Yeah, so really good questions. I think the overall threat to the general public is low. That said, I just think we have to be diligent. The system is working the way it should if and when we're getting people the right information. Look, we were lucky this happened on a cruise ship because it's largely contained. We're being careful about how we transport these next set of passengers, and we'll stay on top of them in terms of the contact tracing and active surveillance to be sure we don't have this secondary transmission. So I think the general risk for the public is low, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be vigilant, especially the people who are going into quarantine. And this is where the building factors come into play. If it is spread, like I think the evidence suggests, through the air, not just close contact, well, then that means the building matters. Then we have to pay attention to things we paid attention to during COVID, which is good ventilation and good filtration. Most homes, most offices, most schools don't have really good ventilation or filtration, so they can need to be improved. And let me just catch myself there too. I don't think this is going to be an issue for schools. I don't think it's going to be an issue for offices. I'm talking just about the extra precautions people should take, in particular the people who are going to be quarantined right now, so they don't get someone sick in their household, and then these secondary transmission chains continue. We have to put an end to the secondary transmission.
All right, Harvard Professor Joseph Allen, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us tonight and help us make sense of what is going on. Thank you.
Passengers are heading home today from the hantavirus-hit cruise ship, now anchored off Tenerife in Spain's Canary Islands. Officials say none of the nearly 150 people on the MV Hantav are showing symptoms of the virus, which has killed 3 people, but teams from the CDC are on site to meet these disembarked Americans, and they're also expected to usher them to Nebraska's National Quarantine Unit, but that is reportedly not being required. For more, let's bring in the acting director of the Department of Epidemic and Pandemic Threat Management at the World Health Organization, Maria Van Cove. Thank you so much, Maria, for being with us. Really appreciate it this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we have seen these videos of protests in Tenerife. People are fearful about a deadly disease coming to their shores. The head of the World Health Organization posted a long letter to X trying to quell concerns, writing, Spain's authorities have prepared a careful step-by-step plan. Passengers will be ferried ashore at the industrial port of Granadilla, far from residential areas, in sealed, guarded vehicles through a completely cordoned off corridor and repatriated directly to their home countries. You will not encounter them. Your families will not encounter them. But how many countries are these passengers going to? And how confident are you that the virus is not going to spread once they're back in their homes?
So thanks very much for doing this update. And indeed, our Director General is actually on the ground right now overseeing the operations. And it is a careful step-by-step operation of moving the passengers and the crew from the ship to shore through buses in a cordoned off way to repatriation flights. We currently have 23 countries that have nationalities on board, either through passengers or crew. Right now, we're working with the Spanish authorities from the Netherlands, and these countries on the repatriation flights. The flight started this morning, or the operation started this morning at 7:30 local time, and will continue to about 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight, and then continue tomorrow. And so far, we have flights that have gone to Spain, to France, to Canada, and the Netherlands in progress. I'm checking my notes because this is almost in real time. And we have flights planned today for Ireland, Turkey, UK, Ireland, and the US. That might change, so please bear with us as operations on the ground. It's in a live situation, but this is a very different virus than COVID. It's not COVID. The passengers and the crew on board will be wearing respirators as they leave. There's a medical assessment that is being done on board before they disembark from the ship. They will be transported separately and directly to these repatriation flights. These are not commercial flights where they will go back to their home countries and they will have an active follow-up period once they reach their home countries.
So let's talk about that piece for a moment, because the repatriated Americans are going to Nebraska. It is home to the only federally funded quarantine facility in the United States. But according to ABC News, it does not sound like U.S. officials are going to require any use of that center there. They're telling reporters this on a call, according to ABC. We're not quarantining anybody, a CDC official told reporters on a call Saturday. When asked if passengers will be tested, a CDC official said it is not recommended to test people that do not have symptoms. Is this the plan that U.S. health officials have communicated to the World Health Organization? Have they told you this is what's going to happen? And is this consistent with recommendations that you guys have?
Well, yes. I mean, let me tell you what our recommendations are. And what I do want to point out is that we are working with CDC officials, and we're working with many different countries that are actually involved in this, requiring a multi-country response because we want to make sure that we prevent any further spread. Our recommendations are, we're considering everyone on board, the crew and the passengers, as high-risk contacts because there are current investigations that are really trying to understand what types of exposures each of them had. And because there's so much uncertainty at the moment, we've recommended that everybody be considered a high-risk contact. Our recommendations are that everyone who goes back to their home country is followed up with active follow-up for 42 days. This would include checks, health checks by authorities, and either be quarantined at home or quarantined in a medical facility.
Okay, so this report goes on to say that the CDC is sending passengers home to monitor from there. It's unclear from what we're trying to gather if that transportation would be private. It sounds like that is a concern, obviously, for spread. But in the meantime, President Trump was asked if, given all of this, the U.S. is reconsidering rejoining the World Health Organization. Here's what he told reporters.
Mr. President. Consider leaving the World Health Organization. the outbreak of hantavirus?
Now, we seem to have things under very good control. They know that virus very well. It's been around a long time. Not easily transferable, unlike COVID. But we'll see. We're studying it very closely. We have very good people studying it very closely.
So an NBC report raises the concern that potentially not being a member state would result in a delay of advanced data that would typically go to member states. That same report does note that the World Health Organization is working, hand in glove with U.S. officials. But what can you say about whether there is any delay in exchanging information, and is the U.S. at all at risk of not getting it early enough?
Well, we do hope that the U.S. does reconsider and remain as a member state of the World Health Organization, because the viruses that we deal with, hantavirus included, they don't respect borders, they don't care about our politics, and information saves lives. So what we do through using the international health regulations is share information immediately once we know about it, and that's what happened in this case. We learned about these first cases, we learned about the link with the cruise ship. There's an incredible amount of expertise coming together, particularly dealing with the Andes virus, which is one of the hantaviruses associated in this case here. We're actually working with Argentina and Chile, as well as the U.S. and many European countries to share that information. And I think this is what is really important about what we call multilateralism, which just means we all work together, because we need the best minds together, including the best minds from the U.S. CDC, to work with us to tackle these challenging problems. Sometimes there could be a delay in information that's shared, but I do also want to say, while I have the floor here, is that the University of Nebraska, this center that you mentioned, is a GORN member, the Global Outbreak Alert and Response System. This is the WHO network that has been in operation for more than 25 years, and it's actually been a GORN member since 2018. So we will continue to work with everyone everywhere, because our goal is to keep people safe. That includes everyone everywhere, including Americans.
Just to clarify, you say there could be a delay, but is the World Health Organization giving information, in real time to the United States, even while they're not?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. That was the answer I was
Yes,
looking for.
absolutely. So our goal is to share information that saves lives. We're doing regular risk assessments, and we're sharing that information in real time so that countries can update what they actually want to do. We make recommendations, and governments decide what they want to do in terms of policies. So that information is being shared through the international health regulations. The United States still participates in that, which is really critical, again, to tackle the problems that we have, put the risk in context. And I do want to say here, I know there's a lot of news about this and people may be scared, but this is not COVID. It's a very, very different virus. The risk to the general public, the risk to Americans is very low. Everyone who is traveling back from the ship will be done in repatriated planes, so not commercial airlines. And it's very, very carefully choreographed, and WHO is coordinating this with officials in the field.
I'm sure you guys have a lot of people on this, because a lot of folks are, rightly worried. And remember, just a few years ago, everything we were dealing with, I don't think anyone wants to bring back masks anytime soon. So Maria Van Kerkhove, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
This is gonna be my last one, y'all. Y'all can't get my likes up, and it's over 2.5 hours. So,
The Russians have been invaded. Okay, so let me start with something that most people are not actually thinking about clearly. And that is what happens when two of the world's most strategically isolated powers decide to stop playing defense and start playing offense together. Because when you map this out properly, when you actually sit down and look at the pieces on the board, you realize this was never random. None of this was random. This was always heading somewhere specific.
lights up. This is my last warning to get the likes up. And I do mean the very last. Lights up. It's my last time telling y'all this.
And that somewhere is where we are right now. I am Professor... Okay. So let me start with something that most people are not actually thinking about clearly. And that is what happens when two of the world's most strategically isolated powers decide to stop playing defense and start playing offense together. Because when you map this out properly, when you actually sit down and look at the pieces on the board, you realize this was never random. None of this was random. This was always heading somewhere specific. And that somewhere is where we are right now. I am Professor Zhang, and this channel exists to decode power shifts before the headlines catch up. Subscribe, hit the bell, and stay locked in, because this one gets worse the deeper you go. Let me start with Russia first. Russia is not a democracy in any meaningful sense. It is an authoritarian state built around one central belief system, and that belief system is survival. The Russians have been invaded more times in their history than almost any other nation on earth. Napoleon came. Hitler came. And every single time, Russia absorbed the pain, bled out, and then turned the tide. So when you understand that psychology, when you understand that Russian political identity is built entirely around the idea that the West wants to destroy them, everything Putin does starts to make complete sense. Their grand strategy is simple. Create a buffer zone between Russia and NATO. That is it. Ukraine is not about Ukraine. Ukraine is about making sure that American missiles are never positioned 2 minutes from Moscow. That is the entire war in one sentence. Now, their attack vectors. The first is their energy infrastructure. Russia supplies a significant portion of Europe's gas and oil, and they have weaponized that repeatedly. When you control someone's heating, you control their politics. The second attack vector is their nuclear arsenal. Russia has the largest nuclear stockpile in the world, and they use it not by firing it, but by mentioning it. Every time the West escalates, Russia reminds the world that escalation has a ceiling, and that ceiling is a mushroom cloud. The third attack vector is information warfare. RT, Telegram channels, aligned media across Eastern Europe and the global South. Russia does not need to win the battlefield if it can win the narrative, and they are exceptionally good at winning the narrative. Now, Iran. Iran is a theocracy, and the fundamental thing you need to understand about a theocracy is that death is not a deterrent. When your soldiers believe that dying in battle is a direct path to paradise, you have an army that no amount of bombing can fully break. That is Iran's greatest strength and also its greatest internal weakness, because the majority of ordinary Iranians are not religious zealots. Most are educated, young, frustrated people who want a normal life. So the regime walks a permanent tightrope between projecting power outward and managing pressure from within. Iran's grand strategy is to become the undisputed leader of the Muslim world and to push American and Israeli power entirely out of the Middle East. That is their North Star. Their first attack vector is their proxy network. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen. These are not just militant groups. These are Iran's forward-deployed military assets positioned around Israel like a ring of fire. The second attack vector is asymmetrical warfare. Iran cannot match America in the air or at sea, so they do not try to. Instead, they use cheap drones, ballistic missiles, and naval harassment in the Strait of Hormuz to impose costs that far exceed what they spend. That is the genius of asymmetrical warfare. You make the enemy spend $1 million to stop your $10 drone. The third attack vector is their geography. Iran is a mountainous fortress. The terrain alone makes a land invasion almost suicidal, and every military planner in Washington knows it. Okay, so what happens when these two players, Russia and Iran, formally align their grand strategies? Right now, they are already cooperating. Iran is supplying Russia with Shahed drones being used against Ukrainian cities. Russia is supplying Iran with military technology and diplomatic cover in the United Nations. They are already in a de facto alliance. But what happens when that alliance becomes official? What happens when it becomes coordinated? Let me be very clear about what happens next. America is suddenly fighting a two-front economic war simultaneously. Russia controls the energy supply lines into Europe from the north and the east. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, which is the single most important oil choke point in the entire world. Nearly 20% of all global oil supply passes through that strait. If Iran closes it, even temporarily, oil prices explode globally. Combine that with Russian energy leverage over Europe, and you have the two most powerful energy weapons on Earth pointed in the same direction at the same time. And here's where it gets even more serious. China is watching all of this very carefully because China needs Iranian oil, China needs Russian gas, and China is tired of conducting its energy trade in American dollars. So when Russia and Iran move together, China does not oppose it. China quietly enables it. And suddenly, the entire dollar-denominated energy order, the system that has underwritten American global power since 1973, starts to crack. Let me address something directly. America is not expanding its navy because it wants war. America is expanding its navy because it knows that if Russia and Iran successfully redirect global energy flows away from dollar systems, the American empire does not end with a bang. It ends with a very quiet, very slow economic suffocation. But here's what most people miss. Russia and Iran do not even need to win militarily. They just need to make the cost of American dominance unbearable. Think about that for a second. You do not need to defeat the most powerful military in the world. You just need to make it too expensive to keep showing up. And that is exactly what this alliance is designed to do. Every drone that forces an American aircraft carrier to change course costs Iran almost nothing. Every month that Russia ties down NATO resources in Ukraine is another month that China has to quietly build its alternative financial infrastructure. The strategy is not confrontation. The strategy is exhaustion. And now look at what is happening on the ground. Russia has rebuilt its military supply chains in ways that Western sanctions were supposed to make impossible. They are producing artillery shells faster than NATO countries can supply Ukraine. Their defense industry has gone onto a full war footing. Meanwhile, in Iran, the nuclear program has advanced to a point where independent analysts now say they are weeks, not months, away from weapons-grade enrichment capacity if they choose to cross that threshold. Okay. Let me bring in one historical parallel that illuminates this dynamic. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union and China were aligned communist powers, and when they formally split, the entire Cold War architecture shifted. The United States suddenly had room to maneuver. It could play China against the Soviet Union. It could extract concessions. But when two powers align, when they coordinate their pressure points simultaneously, a hegemonic power loses its ability to divide and conquer. That is what is happening now. Russia with conventional military momentum, Iran on the edge of nuclear breakout, and these two countries are now formally exchanging intelligence, weapons technology, and economic lifelines. That is not a small development. That is a fundamental restructuring of global power. And then there's the wild card that nobody wants to name out loud. Pakistan. Pakistan is a nuclear-armed state with deep institutional ties to both China and the broader Muslim.
I told y'all to hit the like button, didn't I? Good night. That's it for you. But Auntie Fee, he was about to tell us something important. Sure was. He absolutely was. Go find it yourself, since you don't respect my research. Okay? Yeah, get out. I told y'all to get out. But I want to hear what they was trying to say, what he was about to say. You don't respect my platform. You don't deserve to hear the truth. Hit the like button on your way out. If you didn't hit it coming in, you're going to learn to respect my effort to find y'all the truth, or you're going to continue to believe those lies. Yeah, get out. It's just that simple. Get out. Hey, Belinda.